All right, we're here for video number 2 today. We're going to look at Costco. Costco Wholesale Incorporated. So, looking at some of the fundamentals here, market cap of 120, well, to say 27 billion. So this is a large company, much larger than some of the previous ones that you've looked at. And this is kind of a local favorite, definitely here where I'm from. I mean, everybody goes to Costco and jumps up on groceries and stocks all up. Look at the technicals here. They say strong sell. But again, like I say, I don't really look at this. I mean, hell, you could probably have a good trading strategy just to do the opposite of what this freaking thing said. So I wouldn't take that completely. We got some other people actually looking at Costco. I mean, this is actually a chart, so there's many people with different opinions about, we got some people saying we're going to go long, short. So there's always two different sides to everything. So looking at this, I mean, I can't help but just bring this up again. And the toilet paper is out of stock, and we got the butt here. So I don't think that's going to have a good impact. Let me just refresh this here. I don't think it's going to have a good impact on cryptocurrency today, because it's just kind of a sign of, you've been usurped. I mean, someone's obviously hacked the site, and I mean, it's just going to be interesting to see what other people say about this, but I can't help but just kind of laugh and chuckle at this and the scene of that butt there, right? So I'll just go back to the Costco here and pull this up and take a good look at this and see what we're looking at here. The other thing is that, yeah, Costco has been, it's got a lot of different markets. So when you look it up, there's, it's not just on one market, right? I mean, we got Costco throughout all these different countries. So it looks like it's quite a large company, right? This is a worldwide company. I think we have like yeah, this is just a cross-reference tool, because now you can cross-reference, let's say, the Dow Jones Industrial, the SPX, and you can see like, okay, what's this look like in correlation to, what's the price action between the two? So that's actually kind of a cool little comparison there. I don't always see that, so I'll be looking at that a little bit more to see if we can do that comparison with other charts. All right, so pulling this thing up here, looks like, yeah, I have looked at this in the past, and yeah, here I am. We'll make this quick. Delete this stuff out of here. So on the monthly sense, it looks like, yeah, a lot of times I don't use a moving average this large on a monthly sense, because, well, I don't think it has a lot of value. We could look at it at the 55 and take a look at that, and even the 13 might be a little bit more indicative of smaller moves here. So that's not too bad. You can see what I'm saying. Like, we're getting some touches here actually on this 13-day moving average with this bigger run up. You can say that, Costco's had quite the darn run, right? Right from 2009 all the way to, well, 2020. We've had this monumentous run here, and we could see steady steam being built. We could see here as well. We've been in a bull market here for, nearly 10 years with Costco. So from right here to right here, that could be considered, the 5-wave structure up, and we got a 1, 2, 3 probably right here, and we've continued on with 5 waves up. Now, got some sell side action just like everything, but let's just pull this all the way back and see if we can draw a bottom line trend. See how many touches we can get. Might have to be something like so. So yeah, that's not too bad considering. And if we wanted to draw a secondary kind of trend line, it would be a little bit easier. Let's say drawing something like that. It does cross there though, so I don't know if I like that. Let's just get it right here. Sometimes drawing multiple trend lines can give you more of a realistic, idea that there's a range here, right? This is not a cement floor. There's a range probably. And we got 1, 2 touches here. We got 1, 2, 3 touches there. I mean, so within this huge, longer span of time, it's tougher to be specific. But we could also just draw something like this and to say that, hey, we've been in this parallel channel as of late. So I think we're going to use that. I'm going to get rid of this, and we can see that, you know, we could have some downside after we form these big channels. So what kind of downside action was that? It's a 50% drop right there. So not the best. Looks like in 2001 right here, this must be what this little drop is accounting for. But comparatively speaking to some other markets, it's not quite as bad. But looks like Costco has its, you know, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Have the correction here. We can see that nice cup right here. So this cup right here, you could say that this is the bull market. And now we're going through the bear market. And once we reach that all-time high right here, we can assume we're going to have another leg up. And then we kind of have this drawn out kind of cycle here. I mean, this isn't as clear as a complete cup right here. It almost seems like we had a little fake out here, got supported back, and then continued up here. So that one's a little bit more ugly. It's not so nice and clear right here. And let's say we were looking at just the 13-day moving average here. Once it, well, we don't have 2 lines, so it's tough to see it crossing versus something like the MACD, let's say right there. Looks like these crosses are somewhat telegraphed, like right there. There can be a pretty good cross before this little dump. Same thing. Oh, well, not right here. This is a little bit less perfect. You know, you might have got shooken out right there. The drop wasn't quite as big, but when you've seen it regain right here, then you would have got, hey, this isn't going to be so bad. A lot of this, yeah, this is muddy. I don't like when it's just like this. It's not concise. But when there's a clear swoop down and a clear swoop up, and right here, you could have said, you know, you got faked out right here, and then up here. It's starting to look a little bit more convincing to me, like up here, like look how high this is. I mean, when we talk about the fear of heights, this is something that retail, closed quarters, social distancing. I mean, this isn't great for Costco. I mean, Costco is jam-packed full of people. You're always, you know, next to people. I mean, I'm not really sure. I won't be really saying that I'm bearish on Costco. I mean, Costco's got a lot of different avenues of income, but just like being consistent to how we look at these things. I mean, look at this. Look at how high that momentum is. So we can only consider, I mean, some downside action is possible. And we could say just in terms of momentum, we'd want to see some type of support around 40 if we're going to bounce out of this here. So right now, for me, looking at just the monthly sense, I would say, I don't know if I'd be jumping in with all my assets into Costco right now when it's pretty much like, well, historically speaking, at $286, there's only a few moments in time when you could have bought any time higher. I mean, so realistically, we're at the pretty much all-time highs in Costco at the fringe of a global pandemic. So maybe if you bought down here, maybe this would be worthwhile to take your profit. I'm not going to tell you to do that. I don't really say this as much, but yeah, I'm never giving financial advice on here. This is this general rambling, and the goal is to give people more information for themselves to make better decisions. So considering that, yes, I mean, I'm not telling you to do anything with your stocks. Just looking at these from an objective way, and I don't own any Costco, so that gives me probably the least emotional opinion, and that's where there's some value in that. I mean, even if I own it, it starts becoming a little bit biased, right? I mean, so here, let's just look at it from a weekly sense and see how this price action has been over the last decade or so. So looks like, yeah, we've been pretty positive. There's only small spikes to the downside, but one thing that we can see here is that, well, guess what? That is somewhat increasing, hey? Like, so deeper, 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 and same, well, you could say in general, it's been higher, 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 so it's expanding in both ways, which is actually kind of rare. Um, I can't say I've seen too many charts that look like that on a momentum standpoint, where we're having higher highs and lower lows, so it's seeming like this is becoming more volatile. But we've just made our first ticker down here as well, so how much more of this leg should we have? Are we just gonna get caught up right away? It doesn't quite look like it so far. Um, looking at some of the stuff too, I mean, when we look at some of this, I mean, it's slight, but you could almost you could look at some of the stuff and say that there might be some hidden indicators that are suggesting that we're going to have a change in momentum here. You could say that this is going up and this is going down relative to this time frame in itself from the bottoms, and sometimes that's an indication that we're going to have a reversal. When price is going up and indicators show downside pressure, that means that we might have a change. So it's nothing that other things haven't been telling us either, but there is a real subtle one there. Some of the good news, we had some buy action down here, so we did have this get bought up, and it hasn't dropped too significantly in comparison. Let's just take a look here, because that looks probably a lot less than it actually is. So we had, yeah, it was only 15% drop. So in that sense, I mean, that's not too bad. You can see here some of these things will start becoming a little bit more telegraphed to you when you can see like an obvious three-wave structure, and you can assume that there's probably a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, and we might be in another little 1, 2, 3. So just in midst of this parallel channel, it wouldn't be crazy to, you know, suspect maybe some price action to move down into this area, as we might have a 1, 2, 3 kind of correction into this phase. And if you're going to add to the Costco, I'd probably definitely wait. If you're just hell bent on adding to this position, maybe it's time to wait here. But also, like I said, I mean, this is where looking at this bigger perspective, sometimes is this going to be your saving grace. Like, as you can see that we've never been higher than this, and we're at, look at this, 54.75. Like, I don't know if I've really seen any chart that high. I mean, let's just look at something completely different for one moment, just to see. Yeah, 11. So that momentum is very, very high. Let's go back. Just looking for a quick comparison to see, like, the heck is going on with this thing. Why is it so high? I mean, you can see here it was around that level, and then it just shot up. So at this point, I mean, if you're already sitting on like 3, 4x on Costco, I mean, it always depends on how long you're going to wait. I don't think Costco's going to be shutting its doors anytime soon, but you never know what kind of transitions could be happening in society. I mean, we could see a lot more Costco online, and they have free delivery up to a certain amount. So in that sense, we might just not see as many big physical warehouse locations. And well, we might still have those locations. You just might not be walking around in them. You might just be using your online kind of thing. And then if that's going to be the case, then it's going to be a battle between places like Amazon and Costco and Walmart, and for all these kind of online sales. And in that sense, I mean, who's going to win? I don't know. But looking at here, for the reasons that we kind of said, we're a little bit more up. Well, we're right in the middle of this parallel channel, but right here, you can see that, yeah, there could be some room to the downside here. I mean, the monthly sense, it looks pretty darn high. The weekly, we're just having our first little tickers down here. How low will it go? I'm not really sure, but it's looking like it's going down. Now, if you look at a daily sense, we're kind of still uncertain if we got more to go down. Again, very volatile, very choppy. It doesn't quite look like this, right? I mean, these are a lot more. It's tough to predict what this is going to do. You can see it's starting to try to come back, but it's pretty flat. I mean, that's not very. Yeah, it's not. I wouldn't be. If I was in here, I'd be worried. I'd be worried. I guess in a real shorter time frame, I mean, we could say, hey, we got a little trend line kind of right here. If we're gonna look at this and see what's gonna happen, I mean, you can always do this at any time frame, but looks like we're forming a little bit of a triangle here, and I'd suspect that we're gonna come down, but I'll let you all be the judge of that. Yeah, Costco here. It's a big company. I mean, it's tough to bet against them, but in a bigger sense, in a macro sense, in a long-term sense, I mean, it is quite high right now. It is somewhat extended in its bigger market cycle, and I would assume quite natural that we could have a reversion down. So this one, in my opinion, if I bought in much lower, I'd be looking at this as like a potential. Okay, maybe it's time to just take my profits and maybe wait for some of this to pan out and maybe re-enter once we kind of have a confirmation that we're going to come back up again. You might be able to save yourself a decent amount. Looks like we had this come down. We've retested up here, and it's not. We've kind of formed the roof, so now we got the new roof right here, 324, 325, whatever you want to say. And where's our next level of support? Well, there's none. There's not a lot of price action in this range, so this is this kind of unbeaten territory. So I could say that expect Costco to stay within here, but also we're moving upwards, so it's a little bit more realistic to say we're going to move within this channel here. It should keep on coming upward, and then depending if we fall right through this or if we can actually catch it and get support and start moving back up, that'd be what I really say. I mean, there's a few risk factors in this one. We have another big red candle right here. It's not the end of the world, but you can see here we had a big red candle right there too. And it kind of superseded it right here too. Look at big red candle. But yeah, it looks like Costco historically has been quite the play. It's just like I would expect a little bit more of a down play in here, just considering it's so high. I mean, how could it push through this? I mean, people are told to stay home, so I imagine the economic ramifications for Costco will be no different. I mean, I'm not sure if they're going to be one of those corporations that gets bailed out by the government. I mean, if that is the case, who knows? I mean, if the U.S. starts buying stock, who knows? I mean, for me in particular, I think I've dictated my position here. It's a little bit too overextended for me. I mean, look how high this momentum is. Look how high we are in the MACD. We're having a crossover. On the weekly sense, we're still moving to the downside, and yeah, just where we are historically, we're at the very top. So for me, I don't jump in at the very top. I want to see somewhat of a consolidation or a reversal, and then a consolidation, and then I'll be thinking, okay, this might be a good time to jump in. During these more flat periods, you know they're going to go up or down when they start consolidating sideways, but if you get a stock that has a general long-term uptrend, I mean, you kind of just like can't lose in some sense. You can lose, but there's a lot less risk when you get into positions that move sideways and it's an overall uptrend, versus you're trying to catch these bottoms and you don't really know where, and then you see action below it for years at a time, and you start being pretty, you start getting you start beating yourself up a little bit. So looking at that, it took a while to get back here, and you can say, I mean, the typical market cycle, that's how it runs, right? I mean, it runs in these cups. I mean, we have the bull market up. Eventually, we get the top. We have, well, how do you know it's not just one of these dips and to continue up, right? Well, we probably have to say that, well, it failed. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, maybe it failed. I don't know what you call it, right there or there, but then we had another 1, 2, 3 down. But also, just instead of looking at it in terms of wave function like that, you can just look at it in terms of just like, let's say a cup. We can say it's kind of a shitty cup, but there's somewhat of a cup here. And when it reaches that high again, it kind of fakes out. It looks like there likes to be a little fake out right before that breakout. And then we have the breakout here, and then it dumps again there. So, well, and then we continue up here for the next bull run. So, if you look at any like longer term market, sorry about this. You always see that chart, you know, the market. What do you call it? We'll just call it the market cycle. The Wall Street psychology, let's say right here. If this could frickin' be a little bit more clear. Yeah, here we go. So we got that, the bull run, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up. We got the A, B, C here. We fail, and then we kind of come right down, right? So this would be the bigger cup, and these are just the emotions associated with it. So, you know, my first exposure to the market, I got into something in here, and I got this full experience, which definitely got me invigorated in the market. And then I got to ride this all the way down, and now I just, you know, I'm in one asset in Bitcoin. Let's just be honest, in Bitcoin, you know, this is where we're at right here, you know, and, you know, we've all had these feelings. I mean, why did the government, you know, who shorted the market? But you can see here, the point of maximum opportunity is always at the bottom, right? So we have an expansion followed by a contraction. And this is where you can see the new gain right there, right? So sometimes you can wait for these things, but like we're kind of seeing here, I mean, you could say that that rides up. People have those feelings, and we have all those negative feelings here until we can eventually ride it back up into the point that we break into the new market. I mean, now that was pretty small. I mean, this one's a little bit less clear, right? But regardless, I mean, you should look for those bigger market cycles, and those little cups can form in smaller time frames too. And some people look for them, right, as trading opportunities. Like, look at right here. There's a little bit of a cup right there. It breaks into the new highs, and it has a move up. You could say that this is a cup right here. It has a wick down, but it's the same thing, up. So if you keep on looking for these cups right there, it's kind of going through these little market corrections. And yeah, just when you start looking for patterns, then you'll start seeing them, right? But yeah, this doesn't look like the bottom to me. It looks like the top, man. It looks like the top. So this whole next market cycle, maybe we'll have some downward thing and continue up. Again, I'm not really sure about the long-term longevity of big wholesale grocery stores, but Costco isn't just groceries, everything. Regardless, I think you can see my ploy that you never know what direction society is moving on, and especially with things changing every day, that we're all getting these new things. But when we look at those companies like Citrix and see how big of a price action they have lately, I mean, there is going to be some change that happens. I mean, the amount of germaphobes is going to be exponentially increased across the world. So I think the more hands-free, the more interaction that we can produce from home with the companies, that's, I think, is going to be a growing trend in the near future. I can't see why it wouldn't be. So we'll see how much Costco diverts their attention to their online sales, and will that actually be profitable for them? I mean, can they compete online, or is the majority of their revenue based off of these physical locations? Will the customers die off? Will they keep coming? I mean, I don't know, man. I don't think you can keep people out of stores these days. I mean, so we'll see what this holds in the future. But there's my 2 cents about Costco. I mean, yeah, we'll see what time says. I mean, maybe it can continue extending into unforeseen territory, continually go higher. I mean, probably everyone was considering this to fall, but like I said, I mean, this looks pretty extended here. You know what I mean? Like looking at these waves, they definitely have usually a down cycle. So Costco here, me playing Nostradamus, we're gonna have something like that happen here before we can continue up. Anyway, number 2 for the day. We're gonna do one more today. Good, good. Keep going. Keep going. Again, toilet paper roll is still here. We're still in business. And look at the markets fall. Awesome. Oh crap, that's not it. We're going. Get the hell out of here. All right, see ya.